the Something Else Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Something Else Podcast. I'm currently sitting at my computer desk in my dining area looking out my window, and what do you know? It's snowing. I can't believe it. We've had a bit of flurry. I mean, if you're from, England, you'll know that we have the most shocking weather. It can be sunny, then it can rain. It can be winter, and then it can rain some more. The one thing you're guaranteed is we'll always have rain. But as I'm staring out my window, I can see that it's clearly snowing. Anyway, this episode, it's all about looking how media, how, like movies and television, music and games can affect us. Not just children, but generally, how does it affect the brain? So I've got some articles. I think the oldest one's from about 2017. So they're a little bit out of date, but they're still quite valid. The first one we're going to look at, because I love me movies. I like television. I like everything about it. I mean, I'm not a bookworm. That's very evident. But I do like movies, and I've always found it quite interesting how something that I find quite positive can affect people in different ways, really. So I've got some articles here. I'm just going to have a look. This one was from December 2019, so it's not that old, really. A lot of these are based on like American audiences, which is annoying. And I've still got a little bit of a cold, just in case you're wondering why I keep sniffing. There's a little, ASMR or whatever it is. So, where was it? So, they've kind of put this in different areas. So the first one is movies inspire us. So I'll summarise it so I'm not talking for bloody ages. But they say that, bloody tablet. Good movies will entertain, educate, and inspire the viewers in many ways. Think of the impact that songs have on people. For example, they make us think. They make us compassionate. They inspire us to help others and to do good for humanity. Now, I definitely get inspired. I mean, I've always wanted to make like a short movie. I've got loads of ideas for movies, but I never write them down. But I do like how movies can captivate, especially on a visual basis, you know what I mean? But the thing is, I guess it's like music, how you've got different genres that are very stereotypical. Like if you listen to heavy metal, you worship the devil. And if you listen to rap music, you belong in a gang. That sort of thing. But I find with movies, for instance, I really like thrillers or comedies, I really love that sort of thing, or like sci-fi movies. Whereas my wife, she'll really like rom-coms, dramas, periodic films and stuff. So like, like Downton Abbey, she likes that sort of thing, like period dramas. And I find different movies can inspire you in different ways and kind of help you develop in a way. So like, not rom-coms, but romances, they generally kind of show different aspects of love and compassion and all that. Then you've got some like action movies, which make you just, I don't know about anyone else, but whenever I watch an action movie, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to go and jump off a building with a tiger on my back and somersault into a car. The one thing I do like, I mean, if you ask anyone, especially my dad, he'll tell you that when I watch a film or something, I look too far into it. I mean, I am analysing the film from the moment I pull it on to the moment it ends. And the second point that what website was it? This study, yourstories.com. Yeah, so if you want to check it out, go on yourstories.com. The second point they raise, I do see, like, I do this. So it says movies can create awareness on multiple aspects of life. Now, if you watch something like, probably not the best example, but if you watch something like Richie Rich. Now, I was watching this a couple of weeks ago. I was scrolling through, I can't remember if it was Prime or Netflix. I just wanted something to watch. And it was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't watched this film in a long time. So I pull it on, and it's a terrible film. But there's a part where Richie Rich wants to go and play baseball with, I don't want to say normal, but we'll say your typical average kids that didn't live in a haunted mansion. For any 90s kids, you'll get that reference. What I like is it shows you like this, a kid who's completely loaded, who doesn't need anything. But the one thing he's always wanted was someone to play with. He wanted friends. Yes, he's got his science teacher, dude, professor man. He's got everything he could ever want, but he doesn't have the friends. Whereas the children he plays with, they've got the friends, but they don't have the money or everything they've ever wanted. So when I think it's when they go to Richie Rich's mansion, they're just kind of like, whoa, you've got everything. And it really shows you, like, the differences that life can give to different people, really. What's the other film? Slumdog Millionaire. You know, I'm not a fan of the actual millionaire show, you know, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But it kind of gives you an insight of what happens, you know, like, I can't remember the film that greatly, but there's a part where there's a guy who basically, I think he has the orphans or children that are homeless, and like, he basically blinds them so they have to beg for money or something like that. And it just really makes you think, holy crap, is that actually going on in the world? And it does show you different aspects of life. A completely, like, left field comparison. Stuff like, I'm not a fan of Avatar. I'm just going to say that now. Because it's a great movie, visually, probably one of the best I've ever seen, but it's literally Fern Gully. Fern Gully is the don of all kind of politically, environmental awesomeness. So they share the same thing. Fern Gully is all about deforestation, essentially, taking all the trees down from a forest, whereas Avatar, it's about going to different places to find new sources of sustainability and all that. But the thing that they both share, it's going into a different way of life. So in both films, they both live from Mother Nature. And then it shows you man doing what man does best and destroy. And even though they're both based on fictional characters, fictional lives, it's still relevant, you know what I mean? What's the next one? Movies mirror culture. Every movie is set and developed in a particular culture, which is true. Like the attitudes, the beliefs, the strengths, you know, it's all down to from real life, because it, like I said before, it inspires you, so you're going to make something. Movies can shape culture. Besides mirroring our diverse cultures, the films has for a long time been shaping beliefs and values. I mean, there are a ton of films like that. Like, I think it goes down to raising awareness when you look at it. What's the films like? I really love Hurricane Carter, Reuben Carter, the boxer from the 60s, I want to say, the 50s or 60s. He basically got put in prison for a crime he didn't commit, all down to the fact that he was black, and the guy that who'd killed these people was black, and they both drove the same car. The fact that, like, there was so many witnesses that were like, yeah, he wasn't there, but he was in prison for ages, and they made a film about it, and it really did raise awareness about racial stereotypes, profiling, and Bob Dylan did a bloody song about it. Which goes on to my next point. Movies teach us history, which they do. Sometimes not accurately, I will admit. But sometimes it is horrifically real. Like, you know, the countless wars about Vietnam. Obviously, there's lots of movies about very big characters in life. I don't say characters, like figures in life, like Gandhi, Malcolm X, Diana. You know, there's so many different characters through... I keep saying characters, so many figures throughout life's or Earth's history, our history. And they, you know, we'll never know the full details of them. But then the movies teach us that history. You know what I mean? I'll read one of the examples here. I mean, I've got this page just to kind of give me, like, lines, really. I'm not going to read it straight from, like, off the website. It says here, a good example is the Vietnam War movies that explain what transpired back in the day and help today's generation to appreciate the significances of the war, both positive and negative. And, you know, what was that? Was it 1917? Like, apparently that's one of the most, like, accurate representations of war. I mean, Saving Private Ryan, though it was a bit far-fetched in some areas, that's quite realistic when you look at it. The one part that always sticks out in my head is where... I can't remember the characters' names, but there's a young kid and he basically has to, like, send letters or something. He's always carrying a typewriter around. He's really, like, dittery and it shouldn't be in the war. And there's a part where he's carrying on the staircase holding a rifle while a German basically slowly stabs one of his mates in the heart. And it shows you just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, that kid was scared. Like, he could have saved his friend, but he was scared. And then I think it's at the very end, he shoots the guy that did it. And it's just like... Honestly, it's scary. I mean, I would never want... You know, I don't want anyone to be in war. War should never be around. But that film, I think, really isolates the reality of it, especially at the beginning when there's that guy on the sand and his innards are all hanging out and he's calling for his mom. Oh, that part was nasty. What's this one? Number 7, parenting challenges. Romantic movies make sex look cool. That's the first line. I'm not even lying. Crime movies make lying seem calculative. So yeah, I do see that. I mean, especially if you was, I grew up watching like The Water Margin, basically loads of martial arts films, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, Van Damme, action movies galore, and obviously you want to replicate that, so you go into school and you're pretending to be the Terminator or kickboxer or something. But at the same time, and this is the main theme you're going to get from this with me. I do pull it down to parenting. I know I've just said parenting challenges, but I was raised with the morals, with the understanding of a movie is a movie. It is not real life. You know what I mean? So if I wanted to be Terminator, I couldn't go into school and beat the shit out of someone. So it was just given the understanding that it's only a movie. It's like with games, you know what I mean? Which is what we're going to go into in a moment. But I feel I did find it really hard to find any decent information on the pros and cons of movies, and this one seemed to kind of give me a little bit of both. Where I do find it is down to your understanding, but sometimes there are cases where people like is it American History X, which is all about like neo-Nazis and stuff. Obviously, there are groups like that around, and I think if you are, what's the word I'm looking for? Susceptible? Is that the word? You know, if you can be manipulated in such a way, and you think, you know what, that's me right now. You know, you are going to think it's real, it's a way of life. But if you've got an understanding of, yeah, this isn't real, this is a film, you know, this is bad, this is good, that sort of thing. But again, it's all down to your understanding and how you've been brought up. You know, I've been brought up to know that, I don't know, running people over isn't good, it's really bad. But some people might be like, oh, all right then, so I ran someone over. Which isn't nice, really, when you look at it that way. But movies and TV is one of them ones. I think it's kind of like what books do for people. Like it's taking you out of the it's taken out of reality, isn't it? So you're into this another world, and I think that's why I like movies myself, because it does take you into a whole new universe. Like take the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've read most of the comics, so to see it now on the big screen, it's like, holy hell, and you get so invested in it. You know what I mean? I mean, I love DC, but that's a story for when me and my mate do the podcast. And Robert, you will be on this one. But I do find it's all down to the understanding. I mean, if it's something to teach you history, like a good example. Now, this is controversial, but A Clockwork Orange. I know it's a book, and then they adapted the film to it, but it was all about criminal rehabilitation. I can't say it. Rehabilitating. You know what I mean. But basically how the government were trying different ways to rehabilitate, there's the word, criminals. And if you was to watch it, because I did forensic science in college and we had to watch this and kind of go through it in a psychological aspect. And if people watch it for what the movie is, they'll just be horrified, you know, because there's violence in there, there's rape, there's murder, you know what I mean? There's everything you don't want to see. But then it shows you how the criminals, I can't speak today, how the criminals are reformed. There's the word, reformed. Let me just have some water. There we go. I always do these podcasts and never have water, so I just kind of lose my ability to talk. But if you watch the film for face value, you're just going to see loads of stuff that you shouldn't be watching. But if you actually understood the film, you'd see that it was made to highlight how the government were trying different ways of rehabilitating people, and it's on that level it's a good film. But if you watched it for face value, which, let's be honest, most people watch movies for face value, for entertainment, that's when it gets a bit like, oh god, all right then. But we'll move on to video games, because this one is quite interesting, to be fair. So this one was, I mean, we've all seen those, except cookies, god damn you. So we've all seen the articles where it's like, I don't know, GTA made my son do this and do that. And I'm not disputing it. And I'm not mocking GTA. I love that game. I've been playing GTA since it first came out. You know, I shouldn't have been playing it, granted. But I've been playing it for that long, so I remember the original. And I'm fine. All my mates that have played it, they're fine. Most of them. But, you know, there's been so many political figures. I won't name any because I can't remember their names. And it's like, gaming is bad and this and that and this is that. But there's no solid or consistent evidence to support that. Pardon me, I burped. But I really enjoy reading about the positive factors that gaming's had. So like I said, a lot of these articles I'm reading are based in America. They are a bigger gaming nation than we are. But this one's called Video Games and the Brain Changes, like how the brain changes. But before that, it says, decades of research examining video games and violence have failed to reach I can't speak today. Basically, they haven't found any scientific proof. Where is it gone? So basically, they're saying there's no real links to show that video games have made people violent. So let's have a look. Scientists have recently collected and summarized results of 116 scientific studies to determine how video games can influence our brains and behavior. Results of the studies indicate that playing video games not only changes how our brains perform, but also their structure, so that's pretty cool. For example, video game use is known to affect attention, obviously. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. What a lot of these articles do highlight is how video games have helped people with decision making. For anyone listening, if you've ever heard of Telltales, they did make some of the best games ever because it was all about choice. One of the best ones was the Walking Dead series by seriously, what's wrong with my speaking today? By Telltale. And what it did was, you'd be talking to one of the characters, then it would give you 4 options, but there'll be like a timer that would decrease really quick, and you had to make a choice. Sometimes it was a good choice, sometimes it was a bad choice, but your choices had consequences, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But it was really good because you're kind of put in that situation, like, oh god, I've got to decide. Like there's one where you have to decide who to save. In this one, I think you're in like a boarded up shop or something, and zombies break in, and you've got to decide who to save because 2 people are being attacked. And it's like, I remember I was playing, you've got this one guy who has been with you since you first start moving in this game. He's a bit of a dick. And then you've got this woman who, she's a bit shifty, but she's a mean shot with a gun. And it was like, fuck, who do I choose? So I chose her because she's good with a gun. And it does make you, it does give you, kind of, makes you analyse the situation a bit quicker. What's it say here? Evidence also demonstrates that playing video games increases the size and competence of parts of the brain responsible for visio-partial skills, a person's ability to identify visual and spatial relationships among objects. I apologize for incorrect wording. Obviously, it does go on and talk about people that are like addicted to gaming. So research has discovered that video games can be addictive, a phenomenon called internet gaming disorder. However, that I don't know why I said however, but if you look at it as a whole, because of how quick esports has, not how big, how quick, but how much it's taken over now. I was reading in the news the other day that this top gamer who did like I think it's Call of Duty, he's had to retire at the age of 25 because of a thumb injury. You know what I mean? And the money's good in gaming, let's be honest. You know, you watch these Fortnite tournaments and they're making like 30 grand. 30 grand for playing a bloody game. But, you know, it's one of them ones. This does touch on, are brain training games beneficial? This is mainly aimed at the older generation. There's very little evidence to support it, that it improves the life in a meaning way. But they were doing like, people are increasingly under the impression that brain training apps will safeguard them against memory loss or cognitive disorders. Again, there's no real proof of it because it's common knowledge. When you grow up or grow old even, you lose your cells. You know what I mean? You are going to be degrading. So to hold on to him, you're bloody lucky. Where is it? It's possible to train people to become very good at tasks that you would normally consider general working memory tasks. Memorizing 70, 80, or even 100 digits, explains Neil Chasness, professor of psychology and the leading authority on aging and cognition. But these skills tend to be very specific and not show a lot of transfer. The things that seniors in particular should be concerned about is, if I can get very good at a crossword puzzle, is that going to help me remember where my keys are? The answer is probably not. So it is one of them ones. It's, yes, they'll help you remember stuff like, oh, I can remember, if you've ever played that bloody brain training game on the DS where you have to remember 30 words, it's that sort of thing. It'll help you remember a sequence, I guess, but it won't help you remember an actual thought, like where you put your keys. Video game boosts memory loss. This is another title. In contrast, a study published in Nature found that through the use of specially designed 3D video games, cognitive performance could be improved in older adults and some of the adverse effects on the brain associated with aging. After 12 hours of training over the period of a month, study participants aged between 60 and 85 years improved performance on the game that surpassed that of the individuals in their 20s playing the game for the first time. Moreover, two other significant cognitive areas were improved: working memory and sustained attention. These skills were maintained 6 months after completing of their training. Now, I'm going to assume a lot of the listeners, so myself, but I'm going to assume a lot of people listening to this maybe aren't gamers. But on YouTube, I don't think she does it anymore, just because there was a lot of mean people and a lot of trolls. But there was this 80-something lady who was playing Skyrim. Now, I love Skyrim. It's a bloody good game. It's an Elder Scrolls game. And it's essentially just an open-world adventure game, and you take the role of kind of whatever character you want. I always become a Nord because they're strong as hell. And I wish I had hair. Anyway. And basically, there's a lot of decision making, there's a lot of quests, and you've got to go back and forth and do puzzles. And this woman was bloody brilliant at it. But she did, for some reason, start getting a lot of hate, you know what I mean? Because she's old. Now, I know very, very well that when I'm 86 or whatever, I'm still going to be playing some of my GameCube games. That's a fact. But it is awesome to see how it can increase the, what did it say? The memory, yeah, and the attention. Like, when my nan was alive, I talked to her and she'd switch off and talk about something else. I'm like, oh, thanks, nan. You know what I mean? But then, because I guess you get to I'm only kind of guessing, but I guess when you get to a certain age, there isn't much you can do, you know what I mean? Like, whatever the retirement age will be when I'm older, it seems like there's nothing left for them. Like, you've got to go and do something yourself, get a hobby. Whereas gaming, there's so much you can do with it. Not just playing games, but the community, I find, overall is really positive. I've started doing streams now on Twitch, and the support is really good. And I find that there's a guy I watch, I can't remember his name now, but he's an older bloke, and he plays Minecraft, and it's brilliant. And I think what it does is, as this thing's said, the attention's not strangely, but significantly increased. And the, where is it? I've lost it. And the memory, like, if you use something like Minecraft, you learn how to build and construct, and you've got to remember how much you need. You play something like Skyrim, same thing. You've got to learn how to, craft for a start, and you remember it. I love Fallout, which is an awesome theory I need to go through at some point. But Fallout, it's the same makers of the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. But you have to learn how to repair your weapons, how to craft food so you don't die in the wastelands, that sort of thing. It's brilliant. And again, it goes back to being kind of lost in that fantasy, I guess. Like, a lot of games out there that I play, even though you've got the protagonist in front of you, you've got your character. Like, if you play Resident Evil, you've got, depending on which one you play, you've got Chris, Jill, Claire, Leon, that sort of thing. But you don't see them, you see you. Like, if you read a book, you are that character, and that's what it's kind of like with gaming, especially. It's in 2021, obviously, because the games are absolutely insane now. I'm just trying to find something else on this one. It says here, there is evidence to suggest video games may be a viable treatment for depression and improve memory and mood in adults with mild cognitive impairment. Now, I spoke about this in the mental health episode. Like, I did get down, like, really bad. It anxiety, especially with COVID and everything, really tackled me. And I found, that's why I went to Twitch, really. Let me just have a drink. And I find that playing games, it is kind of, like I said before, it takes you away from real life. I mean, the last thing you want to do is come back to the real life if it's really that bad. But gaming is it takes you away, doesn't it? Even if you're not a gamer, there will be something for you to take away to that haven of yours. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go from gaming and I'm gonna go to music, because I found a really good one. Now, this is when was this written? This was written in 2018. But just to summarize on gaming, I still pull it down to mostly knowing what's right and what's wrong and understanding that games are games. And I think it's, you see loads of videos, like loads of memes on the internet, and it's, rage quitting, where gamers just get absolutely pissed off and they destroy their computers, and you're like, why are you doing that, man? And I think for me, it's just knowing it's a game. Obviously, if you're doing it for like a sport or a tournament, or that's where you get your living from, that's where you get your money. Yeah, I'll be pissed off if I lost a game, but I want to go to the extremes these guys do. So it's just knowing when to stop, because if I cocked up at my job, I can't go smashing stuff. You know what I mean? Because it wouldn't be professional, and I think that's lost in the gaming thing, because it's still, I'd say it's still not seen as professional. It's just someone playing games, isn't it? You know what I mean? But I want to move on to music, because this is my favorite thing ever. Now, this one is looking more at the positivity, because I find music does generally, like gaming, get a bad stick. So this one's saying music has been scientifically proven to have a powerful effect on the brain. In recent times, it shows that music can help in many aspects of the brain, including pain reduction, stress relief, memory, and brain injuries. Excuse me. So, pain reduction. So this is actually something said by Billy Joel, the piano man. I think music itself is healing. It's an explosive expression of humanity. It's something we are all touched by. No matter what culture we're from, everyone loves music. And I will have to agree there. Like I've said before, I'm a metalhead, I'm a rocker, I love big music. And me and my cousin, I said this before in the previous ones, we've just made a track together for the first time. We've jammed a couple of times, gone to rehearsals, but this is the first time we've actually made a song together. Now, I wrote the lyrics, I sang them, and he put the music to it. But at the same time, it's the fact that someone who, my cousin's, he listens to rock and everything. Sam, I hope you don't mind me saying, but he listens to, I'm not going to say real music, like he listens to music I would listen to, but he's gone into a different genre now. He's found his music. He's no longer trying to impress anyone with what he listens to, and I'm chuffed about it. But it's really cool because you can see the passion he has for his, and you can see the passion I have for mine, and we've merged it. And like Billy Joel says, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, we all love music. And basically music moves you, and if you can be moved, it's music. I definitely agree with stress relief, but this one is what really hassled me, because they were saying, it depends on what music you listen to can relieve stress, and this is where I get really annoyed. Because typically, rap and metal is always seen as like the worst. Now, back in I think it was the mid to late 80s, excuse me, I'd have to find the actual article, or you can have a look for yourself. But there was a big like law case going on with metal, particularly death metal, and rap. And that's why if you listen to like Ice-T, he loves metal, especially death metal, because they were in it together, or because loads of people are saying, "Oh, it's corrupting my children," blah 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 blah. You know, like especially in the 80s, like late 80s, early 90s, it was all, you know, rap was epic back then. Let's be honest. I mean, if you compare like Ice-T to, I don't know, Little Pump, whatever his stupid ass name is, you can see who's going to win. Let's be honest, musically, because back then, yeah, they might have been talking about, you know, the hood and all that crap, but you believed it and you can imagine them. You can imagine them being there because that's where they came from. Whereas nowadays, I can't believe what they're singing or rapping about because honestly, it's a load of bollocks. Like, especially with, I mean, I'll go on to this another time, but what's her name? Cardi B in that bloody, was it WAP song? Like, seriously? You know what I mean? I get where she's coming from. She sings what she wants to sing, but she won't sing it in front of the kids or anything. It's fucking kids playing your music. But anyway, that's a different topic. But it was, back in whatever time it was, late 80s, early 90s, these, you know, rap and heavy death metal was being targeted and kind of got proven to not have any effect of what was being said. There are cases where, I mean, being into metal and everything, I only know these cases, didn't really research this part properly. But there was a case where, I can't remember their names, but Judas Priest, the heavy metal band, 2 kids went into a church, like playground, high as hell, took a shotgun and tried to kill themselves as like a suicide pact. The one kid completely annihilated, like they used a shotgun and he blew his brains out essentially. And because his blood was on the gun, when the other kid went to do it, as he pulled the trigger, it slipped and he blew his face off. He's died now as well. But they were saying that Judas Priest basically was saying kill yourself. And I can't remember the song in particular, but if you actually listen to it, Rob Halford, the singer, he even went into court and sang it. And they're like, yeah, there's no mentioning of that. I was talking to my guitarist, Bruce, about this one. AC/DC's Night Prowler. Now, a kid went out and I think he killed someone or he killed himself. And they'd found his hat that had AC/DC on, and the album he was listening to on his record player, and it was listening to Night Prowler. And they were saying how it's encouraging people like to go out and, you know, rape and murder. And the actual song's just about this guy that goes out at night and nicks women's pants off the line. You know what I mean? And I think it's because of how it's coming across. If you listen to that song, it is a pretty eerie song. But there's no real significant evidence to suggest, you know, that music can do that. And this is what I was getting at with stress relief. It's always said that it's classical stress relief. And it's not. It says here, where is it? Oh, I've lost it. So basically it's saying that whatever music you enjoy is what will relax you. So if you listen to country and to go to bed you listen to some R&B, you're not going to enjoy it. But if you went to bed listening to your country music, you're going to feel relaxed. Like, my wife finds it weird how I can go to bed listening to like Cannibal Corpse or Napalm Death and fall asleep. And I'm like, because it's what soothes me. It's what not necessarily what I grew up listening to, but it's what I enjoy. And that's what this is aiming at. Basically, listen to what you want to listen to because it's what relaxes you. And they've done the test where they put the old like pads on someone's head to monitor brain activity. I can't remember the name, and it shows you like how different music affects them, and they can see like the stress levels drop. This one I thought was cool. About seizures, brain injury, and strokes. It has been reported that the brains of patients with epilepsy respond differently to music than people who do not have epilepsy. Persons with epilepsy synchronize before a seizure. However, in our studies, patients with epilepsy synchronize to the music without having a seizure. Not sure what that means. But basically, that they felt relaxed, so I guess the seizures didn't happen. Stroke patients who listened to music in the early stages after a stroke showed an improvement in recovery, according to a 2008 study. This Teppo Sakamo, I've pronounced that badly, suggested that patients started listening to music soon after the stroke, as many changes occurred during the first weeks and months of recovery, We found that 3 months after the stroke, verbal memory improved from the first week post-stroke by 60%. That's amazing. I mean, it is cool how music can affect in a positive way. This one, the next article, this one is kind of mostly affected teenagers because that's generally who gets a bad rep for the music. So this one's talking about like the influence of music videos, and various studies have proved that adolescents, teenage males particularly, who watch a lot of hip-hop, rap, heavy metal or hard rock music videos featuring violent acts, sex or substance use, are more likely to behave hostile towards their peers, to treat women more aggressively and take aggression or aggressive behaviour positively in general. The genre showing much violence and having most explicit language is rap music. Really? As stated in a study, teens 14 to 18 who watch hardcore videos for 14 plus hours a week were found 3 times more likely to get into a fight with a teacher, 2 to 5 times more likely to find themselves under arrest, drug use, sexual transmitted, yeah. It is, again, I put it down to how influenced are you and how much do you understand things like that. Like, I'll use Napalm Death. Now, they're a band from Birmingham, and, you know, they're very political, and they play what they want to play. I've saw them live a couple of times, and, you know, if you can understand the lyrics, you can see why they are very, very loved, to be honest, because they sing about or play music about what's happening around the world. And I used to do mosh pits, but I'm too bloody old now, and I wear glasses. You know, not that that's an excuse, but it was like the way music makes you feel, you know, inside. I guess it's going to have an impact on how you express it externally. And a lot of the times in mosh pits, you know, it's all like, if you've ever seen a mosh pit, you know what I'm talking about. But there's some people that are like swinging their fists, and I'm like, what in the hell, man? You know what I mean? And I used to see it a lot in Birmingham City Centre, Pigeon Park. If you ever go to Brum, if you're not from England, that is, or Birmingham, go to Pigeon Park. But back in the day, there used to be, you know, I use their group's names. There used to be loads of skaters and goths. I ain't got a problem with that. I do find it a little bit disrespectful sitting on people's tombs, and you know, on their tombstones. That's where I get a bit offended. But for the most part, they were sound groups. You know, you could walk through, no hassle. But for some reason, like, all it took is for another group, you know, what one shall I look for? I know, Chavs, because they're a nuisance. And straight away there's aggro, you know what I mean? All because they look different, they listen to different music. And I think it's down to the understanding. You know what I mean? I understand, you know, mine's better than yours, blah, 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 blah. And I learnt this really quick when I went to college. Like, I was very much into hard rock mostly, so like the heaviest thing I'd listen to was probably like Thin Lizzy at one point. And then when I got onto like more heavy metal, like Iron Maiden sort of kind of thing, it really opened my eyes up to, you know what, music is all about what you like. It's your interest. You don't have to fit in a group or anything. And this is what I find really odd about this. Yes, it does impact, I won't lie, it does impact, especially the younger children. But I still say it's all down to the fact that it's exposing them to it and making them realise it. Like, my little boy's, 2 and 3 months now? And I listen to a lot of heavy metal. You know what I mean? And, you know, I'm always playing the guitar. So he gets his guitar, we all have a little jam. He still goes and sings Baby Shark because he knows that's what he's into. He only plays the guitar with me because that's, you know, it's what I do. He knows that's what I enjoy. And I find, especially with music videos, I mean, I don't really watch an awful lot of music videos, but I generally find, like, I use a band, Ailstorm. They're pirates, Scottish folk power metal, come on. And their music videos are quite funny, let's be honest. Like, originally they were quite serious because they're pirates, yar. But then a lot of their music videos now are just hilarious because they're doing it for them. And I find with music now, people are doing it because, you know, I could be wrong, but I just don't feel like artists now are doing the music for themselves. They're doing it because they need, you know, their label saying, oh, we need this, we need that. So they write lyrics for what needs to be heard, for what people want. They don't write what they want to write. And that's more of an influence because it's kind of like a lie, isn't it? It's like with the media with COVID. They're saying what they know people are going to want to hear, like how many people have died, how many people are ill, how bad is it, and they're just going to amplify it and exaggerate it. Bloody annoying. It says here, most often teens choose that kind of, basically they choose music to reflect their mood. Now, again, that's awesome, but, you know, I listen to heavy metal, I listen to death metal. Let's be honest, it generally sounds the same, very aggressive, very loud. You know what I mean? You'd never know how I feel if I played you a song. For instance, there's an album, it's called Live Cannibalism by Cannibal Corpse. Yes, it sounds horrendous, the lyrics are. But the one song, and it's called Unleashing the Bloodthirsty, and it's got a killer riff in it. It's like proper, like, I know the groove of what they've made, I absolutely love it. But you would never know that, you know, if you used to play that, you'll think I'm really pissed off, and I'm not. And I think it's my dad's always said it, especially, I'm going off topic here, but my dad's always said this one thing in the perfect way. It's interpretation. It's like the Bible. If you look at the Bible, it's essentially stories put in one book, and we will always interpret it differently. And I think, really, that's what I find with films, TV, music, gaming. It's interpretation. And I find that music's one of those ones where I will always interpret it different to someone else. Obviously, with my interests, my likes, blah, blah, blah. Gaming, it's just an escape from reality. I know it's not real, but some people don't. Some people get so invested in it. It is real. It's their life. Like Fortnite and all these tournaments. And I find, I guess it's just giving people the understanding, especially the younger generation. You know what I mean? Like, I think on all of these bloody podcasts now, I've moaned about, Little Pump and Tippy Red or whatever the hell they are. And, you know, multicolored hair, weird freaking teeth and tattoos. And I find that they just portray the wrong image. Like that Little Pump guy, he did a song with Kanye West. And they're in some weird big bodysuit thing. And, like, I'm pretty sure it's just explicit language, one after another. There's no end. You know what I mean? It's like, a good song was when the Biggie duets came out. And he does a song called Hold Your Head, where it's got Bob Marley in it. And pretty much, if you play the clean version, it's just a series of beeps. Because, not necessarily swearing, but it's the subject matter. You know what I mean? And I think it's when younger children or younger people are then listening to all this music, especially with the new generation stuff, it is just explicit stuff one after another, and you're just like, really? Is that all you're going to sing about? You know? And I find that the quality of what's being played drops significantly. But, you know, I mean, I've just kind of gone from one thing to another there, but I just thought I'd, you know, get your opinion, really. What do you think? Do you think that music, games, movies, that sort of thing, do you think they are, or like how do they impact, really? Is it negative? Is it positive? That sort of thing. I firmly believe it's all down to the person and their understanding of what it is. I am a massive music lover, so I will always find a more personal bond, a more intimate bond with music. You know what I mean? It's like they're singing about me. So you do get invested and you do think it's real. But it's, yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. There'll be all my links and everything in this, in the description or the bio of this podcast. So honestly, let me know what you guys think. Let me know how music affects yourself, movies and games and all that. If you've had any experiences where it's been negative or positive, just let me know. But for that one, I'm going to end the podcast. I will see you on the next one. Bye.